I am Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, September 4th, 2020, the WNW 447. Lots going on. Paul Craig Roberts summed it up best this week. At the end of the interview, he dropped this little nugget and said, you can only assume that the Democrats believe they've already lost, so they're going to find some way to steal it. This is why the violence continues. This is what they're going to go with. They're going to go with the mail-in voter fraud. They're going to go with the lockdowns, like in my state, lockdowns, California lockdowns, New York lockdowns. Cuomo wants to use 4,000 police officers to supervise, to oversee the restaurants opening up in some limited way. Restaurants are suing Cuomo. Dozens, hundreds of restaurants are suing Governor Cuomo for a couple of $1 billion. I mean, this is ugly. And they're going to go with the violence, folks. And the Washington Post and the press, who for months have told us, they're mostly peaceful protests, with the fire in the background, the idiocy of CNN with mostly peaceful protests with the reporters out there, and MSNBC, Ali Velshi, another one, fires leashed over his head, 20, 30 feet, mostly peaceful. Stop. But they're going to go with the violence. It's going to continue. And that's what they're going with. The Washington Post election result will spark violence. You mean more violence, unless it's a Biden landslide. Now, these are the people for 3 months have said, more than 3 months, it's mostly peaceful. And didn't identify it. They didn't identify it at all, as I told you, in the Democrat National Convention. And then all of a sudden, somebody took a poll. And now we do believe there's violence, and it's all Donald Trump's fault and his supporters. I mean, these people are like eight-year-olds. Oh, there's violence, but you did it. I mean, it's unbelievable how desperate these people are. And the violence is an act of desperation. That's all you have. Because they're not going to talk about their platform, which I'll talk about in a minute. And the platform is basically Bernie Sanders and Biden got together, and Biden said, yeah, we'll just do what you want to do. I mean, that's really what it is. He's a, quote, a moderate individual, they say, who's the front man for far left Marxist, communist, godlessness, satanic, and I am not joking about the satanic part, policies that are going to be ruinous for the nation of America and ruinous for most of the population. But back to the violence. So here we have the Washington Post inferring you don't vote for Biden, things are going to keep getting nasty. Democrats such as Joe Biden say violence will continue unless you vote Democrat. That's his inference with his one of his recent speeches. Michelle Obama. If we want to end the chaos and division and keep alive the possibility of progress, you mean Marxism, on the issues we hold dear, we've got to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris like our lives depend on it. Harris also said that violence is going to continue if you don't vote Joe in. Cuomo, also another big Dem, the governor, Andrew Cuomo, snaps over feds defunding New York City. Trump's talking about not rewarding these crazy cities like Portland and Chicago and New York and these other cities, Seattle, because they're burning them down and they're not going to rebuild them with taxpayer dollars from Tennessee and Missouri and Arkansas and Iowa and Wyoming, because these people are crazy. But think about the inference of violence here. I mean, they're just going nuts. Okay, can you imagine that? Could you imagine Pataki when he was governor, or some other Republican governor talking about Obama coming to the state and saying he better have an army of people? Of course, now he's upset, Cuomo, because he's being squeezed on every side. He's talking about this whole, he better have an army to protect him if he comes here. I mean, not so subtle threat. And the reason why is, listen, Cuomo's not stupid. He might be evil, but he's not. He knows that the tax receipts in the state of New York and New York City are imploding. I mean, Donald Trump gave a speech in Pennsylvania, and he talked about how Cuomo and de Blasio were incompetent, and they're wrecking the state and they're wrecking the city. And Cuomo just made one boneheaded move after another with all the numbers would look so much better if you didn't have all the deaths in New York. I had a hospital ship there with 800 beds, didn't use it. We converted the Javits Center, where I think 400 beds there, didn't use it, 3,000 beds. I think they had another hospital ship on the other side. But anyway, I mean, they had thousands of beds. They didn't use it. Cuomo sends sick people to nursing homes, and they say that the number is 5 to 6,000. Talking to Gerald Celente tonight, I'm going to book him in the future, and he said, "Oh, it's not. It's much higher than 5 or 6,000." They took after they sent them to a nursing home and they got sick. Then many of those people they sent to hospitals and they died at the hospital. And if they died at the hospital, it wasn't counted as a nursing home death. Oh, how many people died? 25, 30,000? Who knows? It's much bigger than 5 or 6,000, says Gerald Celente, who's got fantastic political chops and was a high-ranking facilitator, high-ranking assistant in New York State government up in Albany. So he's good. But it's going to be, that's why Cuomo's not going to release this information until after the election, because it's going to be a disaster for incompetent, murderous. It's many thousands more than the 5 or 6,000 that you've heard about. And then you've got, with the Democrats with the mail-in voting fraud. Barr says, hey, wow, we already divided country and you're playing with fire with this voting fraud. He's talking to Wolf Blitzer, who's trying to make every excuse possible. And the main one is there's no evidence. There's tons of evidence of voter fraud. And Barr says, well, we've never had a national mail-in campaign, which, the Democrats want to flood the zone with fraud, and they go, oh, we won. But I don't think that's going to happen. Also, Wolf Blitzer didn't pick up on this. He said, we already have some very large voter fraud cases going on right now. Whoa, really? And then Barr also talked about how, listen, we know it's fraud. You had James Baker, a big-time Republican in the Bush administration, Bush 41, I believe. And then you have Jimmy Carter, a former Democrat president, in a bipartisan commission in 2009, and they both agreed that mail-in voting was an opportunity for fraud and coercion, high risk of fraud and coercion. That was a bipartisan commission in 2009. We know it's a big fraud ripoff. This is all Democrats have. As Dr. Craig Roberts says, they're going to find a way to cheat, to cheat it out. It's unbelievable. And you look at this nasty comment from Cuomo about having an army, and he's being squeezed by rich people leaving the state. And just leaving the state. A lot of them are moving out of New York City. That's going to be its own disaster, New York City. And Cuomo knows that New York City is going to be its own disaster. And then he's got declining receipts because of this stupid lockdown that they're going with, tax receipts. He also has rich people leaving the state and leaving New York City, which is going to create a giant vacuum, sucking sound in New York City. It's going to suck in and need capital for all the people that are too poor to leave that get free stuff. And then on top of that, you have Donald Trump squeezing them and saying, we're going to cut off your federal funds because of how you handled this, incompetent, crazy, allowing all this looting and burning and rioting, and we're not going to pay for that. Holy cow. This is ugly. MTA, the Mass Transit Authority, I used to live in New York City, right? You could go down on a platform every 5 or 6 minutes. There's a train coming down, in the subway system and picking people up. It's a ghost town. That's another thing Celente said. Oh man, I just down in New York City, it's a ghost town. There's nobody there. Another friend of mine says I have a daughter who's got a brownstone that's a kind of like a townhouse. It has a little backyard. And you have a little backyard in New York City. Woo! Wow, rich. And she says that there's a neighborhood of brownstones, right? He says there's 50 brownstones for sale on my street. Oh my gosh! The place is imploding. This is not coming back. This is not a dip or a downturn. This is going to make, the 2008, 2009 financial crisis look like a long slide into a swimming pool as opposed to a jump off Niagara Falls. This is all ugly. And this is how this is going to get so dang ugly. And then you wonder why Biden is attacking Trump all the time. Well, you certainly can't talk about the policies they want to institute. I went on the Biden program, and just, the Biden program, the Biden manifesto, his policy positions. Cancellation of all student debt, He's talking about the tax policy, which is going to go tax, tax, tax. He even talked up in Kenosha saying that I can't talk about the tax policy, otherwise they'll shoot me. What does that mean? It's going to be all, I mean, just the Green New Fraud deal is 16 plus trillion dollars. And of course, they're spending money to save money. I mean, everywhere you look, taxes are going up. And everywhere you look, they're going to have free stuff for everybody. 12 weeks family leave for everybody, child care for all, Medicare for all, this Green New Idiot deal, which is going to drive the price of everything you use energy-wise to the moon. They're going to tax the middle class. They're going to do away with 180 million people who have health care, private health insurance. Poof, that's gone, Medicare for all. They're going to cancel all college debt, as I also said. Housing for all, college for all, no deportations. They're not going to take money away from ICE, right? Or police. I've heard Biden say he's going to take money away from police and divert it to other places. Oh no, yeah. But they're going to have to treat immigrants with respect. You mean illegal aliens coming here illegally? I mean, if this is, they're going to do away with cash bail. All across the country. You could brick somebody in the head, come to court and say, oh, okay, well, I plead not guilty. Okay, bail? No bail. See ya. Just be here, 4 weeks from today or 5 weeks from today or whatever. No cash bail. You see how well that's worked in other places where criminals get turned right out on the street. I mean, with this COVID thing was a big opportunity to destabilize things, release as many prisoners as possible. Because we don't want them getting COVID in jail. Why don't you just have them wear a mask? I mean, this is what they're going with, folks. And they can't talk about the awful things they're going to do to the middle class. They want to destroy the middle class. They're going to tax it. They're going to take away your guns. They're going to take away your Second Amendment. They're going to take away your First Amendment. They're going to do away with the Constitution. This is a Marxist takeover. And if you look at Biden's plan, it basically is an adaptation of the Bernie Bros, Bernie Sanders, AOC. Biden is just a puppet. A sock puppet, a front man that, is kind of trying to come off, kind of a moderate, like, oh, I'm not gonna be some crazy far left wing. Do I look like a far crazy left wing person? No, but the people propping you up are. I mean, it's stunning. It's stunning. That's why you don't hear the Democrats talking about anything they're going to do for you, because everything is, we're going to have a mask for 3 months. That's Kamala's idea. More lockdowns, more masks, more control, less freedom. And this is ugly. And then you have this, and I wasn't going to cover this because I didn't want to jump on, because plenty of people talked about it. The whole Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, getting your hair done while all the salons are locked down in California. And so, but here's the story, and I think this is brilliant by the White House. And they're whacking Nancy Pelosi, and she knows she's going to get whacked. She knows she's getting whacked. She canceled her press conference on Thursday, right, or Friday. She won't even make a public epic. Haley McEnany plays security video of maskless Pelosi in shuttered salon on loop as she rips Pelosi for holding up corona virus relief. And there is Nancy right there, maskless little Nancy. And you have the White House press secretary ripping up. Oh, I mean, this must be fingers on the chalkboard for the propaganda left-wing media that's in that room. I mean, and that's what that is the big nugget of the story. Here you have someone saying that things are dangerous. We have to keep everything locked down, except for me. My hair done and stuff for me, but not for thee. And they're about $1.9 trillion, somewhere about, let's say, about $1 trillion off between the Republican plan and the Nancy Pelosi give away more free stuff to illegal aliens and to the cities that burn themselves down, that they allowed to be burned down and all that. What the Republicans want to do is help small business. Like this person with this salon that's lost 6 months of income. That totally shut down. And the people making the decision have government paychecks. They got a free button on their desk. But not the people, the bowling alleys, the salons, the restaurants that have to operate under 30% capacity or 50% capacity and do all this extra, expensive cleaning. Unbelievable. But I think it's brilliant the way the White House put this on a big old fat screen TV and put the loop there with Nancy Pelosi maskless, waddling through the salon where she said, "I was set up. I admit I was set up." Okay, whatever. It's unbelievable. The salon owner, meanwhile, is getting death threats from, the far left wackadoodles that, they claim that Trump was going to burn down and destroy the country, and they're the people burning down and destroying the country. But another thing that shows you that this election season is heating up, and I thought this was a shocker, folks. And of course, the New York Times broke this, and of course, they're anonymous source city. Okay. So, but this makes sense to me with all the censorship going on and all that. And it's Justice Department plans to file antitrust charges against Google in coming weeks. Now, they don't have any bona fide sources on the record saying. We talked to Justice Department Attorney John Smith. They also the DOJ spokesperson didn't comment on the story. But wow, if this is happening, oh boy. Things are heating up. When Barr is slipping out, we've got several big voter fraud cases working right now. You guys going to go to jail? The people cheating going to go to jail for multiple years for Joe Biden? And this is the reason why this antitrust case is going on. I mean, Google has 90% of the search details. They're going after conservatives, censoring conservatives. You saw that on my sheet. Like this, and even when they get it right and they use CDC information, they don't want people tweeting out real, actionable, sourceable information, like from the CDC. So here we have last weekend we posted, and we're talking about the Gateway Pundit. We posted a viral report on COVID-19 numbers that was tweeted by the president. Now Democrats and their media and fact checkers, quote unquote, are smearing us. And here's what they wrote. COVID-19 is not nearly as deadly as projected by the WHO and also Fauci and Birx earlier, based on, wait for it, and they quoted and showed the link of CDC numbers this past week. Only 6% of all deaths attributed to COVID-19 were deaths where the only factor in the individual's deaths was COVID-19. This is less than, not 160, 70, 80, whatever, how many thousand people they said died. This is less than 10,000 people. We wrecked the country. We put tens of millions of people in unemployment, first-time unemployment people who are in application in 24 weeks. Tens of millions, over 10,000 people. Listen, I don't take lightly that 10,000 people died, but this is what happens in a normal flu season. And we know it was older people and people who were immunocompromised and had pre-existing conditions, lung conditions, heart conditions, things like that. But here's what they say. They say Twitter took down a tweet on these statistics. This came from the CDC. CNN's slandered President Trump and the Gateway Pundit and encouraged Twitter to take down a tweet based on our post that the president retweeted. In other words, it wasn't so bad, and the CDC blew up the numbers and counted everybody with a COVID death, even people who had 2 and 3 different morbidity conditions that would have gone into the decision of the death of the individual that quote unquote had COVID. I mean, on this show, I told you that they even had a motorcycle rider who got killed that they classified as COVID to run up the numbers. So I don't know what happened with this, but listen, the numbers obviously were manipulated, and the thing is a bit of a scam. And so, and this is all part of what? To try to drive Trump out of office, wreck the economy, shut down the economy. My governor, Baby Killer Cooper, who vetoed a bill that would protect babies that made it through an abortion. Well, he vetoed that bill because, we find out from Planned Parenthood, I've said this before, but I can't say it enough, that they harvest the organs of live babies in some cases. And they like those full, big, fully mature babies so they can harvest their organs. But anyway, but the Democrats are going to go with threats of violence, actual violence, destruction of the economy, lockdowns. This is what they're going with. Oh, and lying. Lots of lying. And here we have the Dem convention. Again, they didn't even bring up any of the violence until, I guess, somebody took a poll that, oh, yeah, well, the violence happened and it's Donald Trump and his supporters, which is ridiculous. They've ruined Minneapolis, ruined downtown, wrecked Portland. New York City's a ghost town. Wrecked, ain't coming back. I mean, wait till next year in New York City. I mean, as I told you, MTA is losing $200 million per week, the Mass Transit Authority. It's unbelievable. And so here's the DNC, and let me start with this. I'm going to take this out of order real quick here. And I just can't say this enough, and this could have been written this week. And it's from the Bible, and it's Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And evil right here on earth. As we hold up the logo for the DNC, the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, of all places. And if you look at this, you say, wow, that's kind of a cool little symbol here with the D, right? And somebody pointed this out to me, but if you do this, don't you get like that pentagram thing, this evil thing working? Now, listen, on the internet, the fact checkers, these are the same fact checkers that said that Donald Trump was a Russian asset for 2.5 years, and the Mueller investigation was totally unbiased, which lie. And they could not tell you that Hillary Clinton paid for $20 million for a dossier from Russia that was full of lies that they used to fraudulently apply for spy rockets warrants to spy on the president in his campaign and the beginning year of his White House, his presidency. The fact checkers could never tell you that was a fact, incidentally. So if you look at this, you think, wow, that looks satanic, but they deny it. The fact checkers, the DNC denies it. But if you just hold up this right here. Here, I just pulled this off the internet, satanic symbols, okay? So when you pull this like this, doesn't this D, here are the satanic symbols. Oh, hold on, I'm just going to get this right here. Here they are, okay? So look at this one right here, okay? Or this, okay? So, I mean, I ask you folks, is this a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Oh, I have it better. Okay, so let's compare it like this. Here you go. So, is this a coincidence, folks? Huh? Is that this is an actual bona fide. So, but we turned it on its side. Really? That's what we're talking about, folks. They deny it, but I think it's more than a coincidence. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And the media, I'm so disgusted with the media. I mean, the progressives, they were Nazis in the 30s. Actually, FDR wanted to use that term because he loved it. But the Nazis called themselves progressives, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. And then they cut that to National Socialist. That's too long. So let's go with Nazi. And so here's Goebbels. I think the press is a great keyboard on which the government can play, Joseph Goebbels. But actually, it's the deep state now. It's the deep state. It's the globalists. It's the Satanists. It's the New World Order. Yep, the willing participants, with their fact checkers, are basically trying to lie to you every day. They just lie every day. I mean, just every day. Let's harken back here to Richard Fisher. Daniel DiMartino Booth was his right-hand lady at the Dallas Fed. Richard Fisher was the Dallas Fed president. Now he's a former president. He left in 2016. But let's just take a look at what the Dallas Fed president said while he was on his way out the door. A little truth while he was on his way out the door. I think the power is running its course. This is back in 2016, but boy, they got it to keep going. We injected heroin and cocaine into the system, and now we are maintaining on Ritalin. This is the Dallas Fed president, not me, not a guy with a tinfoil hat in his basement. This is Richard Fisher, okay? And it's so crazy And now we found out later, that's in 2016, 2017, Dr. Mark Skidmore, economist, expert in public budgets at Michigan State University, teamed up with Catherine Austin Fitts, and they broke, the 21 missing $trillion because they used Office of Inspector General reports at the Department of Defense, DOD, and HUD, and even the DOD admitted they couldn't find 6.5 trillion, but between the two, 21 trillion and more, 90 trillion in turn. This is according to Dr. Mark Skidmore. But so, I mean, it's such a cartoon that this is good news in our world. 800 and Donald Trump, this is not his fault. They're trying to destroy America and him, and he's in the way, and so's the middle class and anybody that voted for him. This is evil. We're fighting evil, folks. But this is good news. 881,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment benefits. Woo! All things are getting better. And so if you look here at, this is in 24 weeks, folks. Nearly 59 million people filed first-time unemployment benefits. And, it's been several million and down to 1.5 million, and then 1 million and 1 million and about 1 million, a little more than 1 million. And finally, 881,000. If you look at this, you think, oh, hey, well, pretty good. This little thing right here, pretty good. Pretty good. Still, if you look at this little green dot and you go back here before COVID, it's still 4 times higher than COVID. This is passing off as good news. This is beyond Great Depression numbers. Okay? Donald Trump's the guy in there to bring back jobs from China and cut regulations. He's using his $1.8 trillion. They really need more money than that. That's what Nancy Pelosi comes in. She's holding it up. Doesn't want to give Donald Trump a win. They're skewing her for, rules for thee, but not for me. And, the little people here, and they're losing money, and that shop's been closed for 6 months. Pelosi tried to say, well, I thought we could do one-on-one. She knows the rules. It's totally closed down. Totally closed down. Maybe that's why the stock market rolled over on Thursday, and with an 800-point drop. The future markets, as I do this, are negative. Are we through the worst of it, or do we have another, frying pan of hot oil coming in the face? And I think we're going to have old Pony, who thinks that we're going to have something epic in September. He's sticking to that prediction that he made a little more than a month ago. He also thinks the S&P or the Dow will go down to about 6,000, 6,500. Charles Nenner, the famed cycle guy, as well, is with Bo. Both these guys hit that the market was peaking back in February, and that it was going to go down 40%. It went down 38%. They hit this, but they both think the Dow ends up at about 5,000 to 6,500. And so, if you look at the charts, here is a chart right here. This is, if you look closely, this is a chart. The big one is 1928. Okay, and so here is how the stock market went in 1928, and then the blue is now. Okay, so the blue is now. That's now, and the red is then. Okay, so if you look at this chart back in the day, and you look at it here, right here, wrong way, right here. All right, here. Okay, wait, make sure I get this right. Okay, yeah. All right, this is 1928, right? And this is a chart. It's off by about a year, but if you go here, this is 28, and you look right here, and it goes up, 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 boom, just like this, just like what's happening now. And then it comes way back, up, 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 and then we have this, boop, this little dip right here. That's 800 points. This little pop right here is 800 points. And, it goes on down. Now, this is September of 29. And so this is September of 2020. But this is the way the rest of the chart goes, folks. And, with all the money printing, is that the way that the chart's going to go? This is what Pony and Nenner who have been right in the past, say. And so, folks, this long-term idea, long-term holder of the stock market, I think is going to come to a crushing end for people. And a lot of people are not going to sell. They're gonna keep eating the honey out of the honey jar all the while they're being stung, and then when they're going to be stung, it's going to get critical mass, and they're going to find out there's no honey down there. They're going to keep getting stung. So, gold is down for the week, but I talked with Pony on the phone. He says it's not going to go down much. I mean, it's not. And look, with all the money printing, I mean, they are talking about 1.23 trillion on the Republican side, and then on the Democrat side, 2.2, 2.3. They're off by about $1 trillion. I don't know if that deal is going to get done before the end of the fiscal year. That's September 30th. Kevin McCarthy says don't expect anything to be done. You may not get anything done. But now, maybe Pelosi will move. She'll be embarrassed enough, and Democrats will be embarrassed enough to say, hey, Madam Speaker, we need to do something, otherwise it's going to look like buffoons. Meanwhile, Trump's sitting on $1.8 trillion that he has used to extend unemployment benefits, and I'm sure he's going to use it to extend business loans and some other things to help small businesses. Like this beauty shop that's been closed down for 6 months with no income. So I'm not trying to be a purveyor of doom and gloom. I am trying to tell you that we're in big trouble, folks. Unemployment, 24 weeks. We've had nearly 59 million people file first-time claims for unemployment. That's this year, 2020. Seattle is a disaster. Can you imagine trying to sell an apartment in Seattle or Portland? The Mayor Ted. He ain't going to be able to sell his apartment. I think he bought it for $800,000. What do you think it's worth now with, Antifa and BLM out in front of your building trying to burn it down? Minneapolis, New York's a disaster. New York's a disaster. That's going to be a vortex, a sucking black hole of capital and cash for all the people who are going to be stuck there, who can't leave, that need the free stuff. And they're going to print money, and they're going to raise taxes, and they're going to confiscate wealth, and they're going to come down on your rights, on your First Amendment, on your Second Amendment. We had a pregnant woman down in Australia who wanted to have a rally about not being locked down. They arrested her, said she was like some terrorist or agitator. Folks, we went from, it's a suggestion to wear a mask, where now it's a big fine and possibly jail time in some places if you don't wear a stupid mask. And they want to keep going with this. Kamala is like, if we get elected, we're going to have a mandatory period of time where you got to wear a mask. Oh, yeah, yay, I want to vote Democrat. Yay. That's the way to get everybody back to work and unfreaked out. So, listen, just be prepared for something big coming in September, and the Democrats are desperate. I think they're losing too. I agree with Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. They've already realized that they're going to lose. That's why they got to figure out a way to cheat their way through, or commit enough violence or enough threats or enough cheating or enough voter fraud, or whether they tried to do the same thing in 2016 too, as well. And, the media has to lie. They're a propaganda machine. They're not the media. Oh, and one last thing about the media. I want you to keep this in mind, and this is why the media is so screwed right now. When I was in the media, listen, there's your power in the media, okay? You have to believe that in the media, that I'm going to be a fair arbiter of the truth, and I'm going to give it to you correctly. And if I get it wrong, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to eat it and say, wow, man, I got it wrong. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to be a fair arbiter of truth, and when I say something, you're going to know that I really intended to give it to you right. I try not to make many mistakes, but I do make mistakes. And that's your power. People believe you when you say something. Do you believe the mainstream legacy media? Nah, they've screwed themselves. They're never coming back from this. Especially with this COVID lockdown thing where, I can do the same thing they're doing and it costs a lot more. And there is nobody in the mainstream media, upper management, nobody managing money, nobody is watching them to get actionable information about geopolitical situations, or unless it's live, or monetary situations, or the real numbers, or the real deal, real analysis, instead of just buy stocks. So, they're watching people like me, like Kevin Shipp. They're watching people like, Breitbart and the Gateway Pundit. That's why they're smearing them. They're watching people like Zero Hedge. I mean, they're not watching CNBC and Fox, even Fox. They're a bunch of weasels. Half of them are weasels. Hats off to Hannity and Carlson and some of the other people they have on there, Ingram, but they're limited. So they can't. They're limited in what they can say. They have to fact check that anyway. But the long and short of it is, folks, just keep in mind that's their power, and you know what? They've lost their power. The mainstream press, they've lost it. They have. So listen, don't freak out. Be informed. Keep preparing. Keep yourself mentally strong. Don't let them steal your chi. Don't let them steal your calmness. They want you afraid. Don't be. And so I close with always fear not. Prepare yourself mentally. That's being informed. Physically, eat right and make sure you get all the stuff you need to get done in terms of medical things and things like that. And above all, spiritually, prepare yourself spiritually. And that is believing in God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, because they're all firmly in control. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com with your donations and comments. Both things help me out. Again, thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.